Okay, good morning. This is Scott Herndon, and I was in Boise at the Capitol all day yesterday. And I want to tell you about a bill. We posted about it over the weekend, I believe. It's called in the headlines because it made a lot of headlines last week. So it's a bill in the Idaho legislature in the House. It is HB 507. It just got printed last Thursday, so it's on legislature.idaho.gov. Under the 2020 session, you can look it up, HB 507. Now, this is being billed as a public money prohibition funding bill. So it's going to be said in the news to be a pro-life bill that would bar the use of taxpayer money for funding organizations and individuals that provide abortion. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit more detail, and then I'm going to read the bill to you, and I want you to make a decision as to whether this is a good bill or a bad bill. So, in the news, if you have ever heard the term defund Planned Parenthood, this is the idea behind this bill. I've talked to the gentleman who created the bill, and let me say at the outset, I know the two bill sponsors of this bill. They are Christy Zitto and Brian Zollinger. I know who gave the idea for this bill. I just want to say at the outset that their motives are good. They want to do a good thing. But let me tell you what happens when you set out to do a good thing and then you allow the Idaho Attorney General to give you advice. And you should not follow the Idaho Attorney General's advice, and I'm going to explain why. But I'm going to have you make your own decision about this bill. So the bill in the news says that it is an abortion funding prohibition. No city, no county, the state, and no public health district in Idaho, according to this bill, will be able to use public monies to pay an organization or an individual for any service if they also provide abortion services or do abortions or kill children by abortion. But here's the problem with the bill. So on its face, if you said, I'm going to write into Idaho Code, so this would add to the law in Idaho Code. If you said, I'm going to add to the body of law of Idaho Code, and I'm going to say that no county, city, etc., can give any taxpayer money to any organization that, for whatever it does, that also kills children by abortion, I would not be talking about this bill. I'm not going to go down and testify for it, but I'm not going to testify against it. However, what happened is there's this federal law called the Hyde Amendment. It has to do with Medicaid funding in Title 19. It's way back from the 1970s, and in the 1980s to the Hyde Amendment. So when you hear about the Hyde Amendment, it means they're not going to use Medicaid funds to pay for abortions except if the child was conceived by rape or an incest. Then they're still going to use federal money to kill that child. So that's the Hyde Amendment. And then there was a U.S. Supreme Court decision about that. And then there's 2 Idaho District Court opinions about this. So here's the situation. So these bill authors in Idaho, Zollinger, Zitto, and the guy who helped them, they want to do something good about abortion. So they say, you know what? Let's prohibit all public monies from paying for killing children. They get an Attorney General's opinion, and here's the result. This is the bill, 507. I'm going to read it to you, and then I want you to make a decision. I call this a pro-abortion bill, but you make the decision, and then I'm going to actually tell you what I think you can do about it. Before I say any of it, make sure if you talk to Brian Zollinger or Christy Zitto or anybody on the State Affairs Committee that this was on the calendar, on the agenda for yesterday. And yesterday at the Capitol was Planned Parenthood Lobby Day, and there were a bunch of Planned Parenthood people there wearing the pink t-shirts, and they pulled it from the agenda. And we had multiple pastors there yesterday that were going to testify against this bill. And I'm going to read you this section. If you contact Zollinger, Zitto, or anybody on State Affairs, will you please do me a favor and be nice? They started out with a good motive, but tell them why you disagree with this bill. And I'm going to explain, I'll read the bill, and then I'm going to tell you why I disagree with the bill. Don't tell them they're going to hell, okay? I'm serious. People will do that. Don't tell them they want to kill babies. They don't want to kill babies, okay? But here's what the bill says. So I'm going to read one section here, and it says a county government, this is the good part, a county government shall be prohibited from expending or in any way transferring funds to any individual or organization that is a provider of abortion as defined elsewhere in Idaho Code. What that means is if you had a hospital that was doing $10 million of heart surgery and $10 of killing children by abortion, then a county could not pay the hospital the $10 million for the heart surgery. That's a good thing. However, here's the bad part. I know, I'm going to give you the bad part. See, Kayla, in my opinion, of course, they should just pass HB 361, and I'm just explaining that I wouldn't testify against this bill, except that it's got a bad part in it. And I wouldn't testify for it. If they want to spend their effort defunding abortion providers, fine, but I think we should just abolish abortion with HB 361, which is the Abortion Human Rights Act. But here's the bad part of the bill. So it says the prohibition in subsection 1 of this section shall not apply to abortions eligible, and let me just say that's murder by abortion, eligible for public funding under circumstances where the abortion is necessary to save the life of the woman. By the way, there is no such thing. You don't have to kill a child to save the life of a mother. Or in cases of rape or incest, as determined by the courts, blah, blah, blah. What that said right there, and it's 4 different places in the bill. It's for counties, public health districts, cities, and the state. And what that just said is they can use taxpayer money to pay to kill children conceived by a rapist. So what they're saying is, and pay close attention, one of the bill sponsors is going to say, but Scott, we already have one bad section in Idaho Code that kind of says that. There is a section in Idaho Code right now, it was passed years ago, way before I was paying attention to the legislature, and it says that the Department of Health and Welfare may not expend any of their appropriated money except for abortions of babies conceived in rape and incest. That is a bad law. But this bill would add 4 new sections that say counties, and nowhere in Idaho Code does it say right now that counties can spend money to execute a child for the crime of its rapist father. That is not an Idaho Code. Nowhere does it say cities can do that. That is nowhere right now in Idaho Code. This bill right here says that a county can use public money to pay to kill a child conceived in rape, to give the death penalty a capital punishment to a child killed in rape. It's right here. There's the bill, and it's right there. And that's only page 1. And it's in 3 more sections. So what I am telling you is that this bill, which started out as a prohibition on public funding with public money for killing children by abortion in the state of Idaho, is a bill that authorizes your county to take your property taxes and use it to kill children whose fathers are rapists. That's what it says. You can look at it yourself, legislature.idaho.gov, session info 2020, look up HB 507. I'll put a link down below to HB 507, and here's your call to action. So when you write a bill, first of all, you should just pass HB 361, which criminalizes all abortion in the state as murder. No exceptions. But when you write a bill like this, you're writing an iniquitous law. It is a unconstitutional law. It is an unbiblical law. It says that your government can pay to murder innocent children. That's what the bill says. So I am calling this a pro-murder bill. That's what it is. So it was going to get heard in committee yesterday. It got pushed off the agenda. Don't know why. It's not on the agenda for tomorrow as of the moment. But when it comes on the agenda, we have at least a dozen evangelical pastors that are going to show up and testify against this bill. Now, some legislators will say, you guys are going to testify right next to Planned Parenthood against this bill. There's a big difference. We're testifying for the right reasons. I would be okay if the legislature said we're not going to use public monies for killing children. But this bill says that you can use sales taxes. Your city, after this bill passes, there will be an explicit law in Idaho Code that says your city can use your sales taxes to pay to kill children conceived in rape and incest. That's what the bill says. They can use your property taxes to pay to kill children conceived in rape and incest. That's what the bill says. That is an evil bill. The legislators have a good motive. They set out to do good, and it got corrupted. And now they've told me, but we got to get this passed. We got to get it passed. No, you don't. The legislature's job is to write good law. The only good law related to killing children and abortion is to criminalize it. However, if you're going to insist on running a defunding bill, just defund it. Period. And don't put exceptions in there that allow the use of public monies for killing children and rape and incest. And they're going to say, but Scott, we got to comply with the court decision. This is the lie. I realize you're going to have a harder time passing a bill that the Attorney General says does not comply with the courts or the Hyde Amendment. I understand that. If you can't pass it, you can't pass it. The scripture is clear. Do not pass an iniquitous law. That's in Isaiah 10:1-2. The Constitution is clear. Every person has an inalienable right to life. That inalienable right is only as good as the legislators who stand up for it. So what I'm asking you to do is, this is my call to action. Contact these two legislators and the legislators that are on state affairs. Tell them you understand this bill. That this bill, though they started out with a good intention, they want to do good, you're not questioning their motives, but the bill, in fact, adds 4 sections of Idaho Code that say it is okay to use public monies to give capital punishment to innocent children because their fathers were incestuous or were rapists. And you are not okay with that. Be polite, please. My recommendation is we get the government that we accept and tell them this is unacceptable. This does not qualify as an acceptable, lawful bill. The legislature's job is to write good law. Their job is not to do the Attorney General's job. Their job is not to do the governor's job. They're not responsible for those jobs. They're not responsible for doing the prosecutor's job. Their job is to write a good law. And if they cannot get a good law passed, then what they should be doing is educating their constituents and educating their fellow legislators that we have to pass good laws, constitutional laws. Don't let your legislator tell you. Why don't you ask your legislator? Ask Brian Zollinger, Brian, do you think that this allowance in HB 507 that says it's okay for counties to kill children in abortion when they're conceived in rape, is that constitutional? Ask Brian that. He's going to tell you no, it's not. Then say, Brian, you have an oath to the Constitution. Please, please uphold your oath. And he'll say, but we could save babies. And say, the goal as a legislator by your oath is to uphold the Constitution and to pass good laws. we have to no longer accept these kinds of laws. And so I do not support HB 507 as it's written. Now, I've recommended to them a way that they could do what they're trying to do and not accept the recommendations of the Attorney General. And I've asked them to do that, and they haven't told me they're going to do it yet. So I've given them an option. But you need to tell them and everybody on State Affairs Committee in the House very nicely that you do not find that acceptable, that the bill says that you can use public monies to kill some children. That is not currently said in Idaho Code, and it will be said if this bill passes. All right, that's my update on HB 507. I'll talk to you tomorrow about a 2.5-hour conversation I had with my wife yesterday with 2 legislators and, let's put it this way, the leading pro-life lobbyist in Boise, about his trigger bill, about his strategies, about our bill. I'll give you that conversation tomorrow. I'll tell you what I think about it, what I see the differences, and that'll be tomorrow so I don't make this video super long. I'll put down in the link below a list of the House members on State Affairs. Currently, 507 is not on any agenda, but can you please call? I would call. Look up on who is my legislator. Look up on the legislature's website, legislature.idaho.gov, House members, and put in a very nice call to Brian Zollinger and say that you've read 507 and you don't approve of 507. It's unacceptable, and please ask him to pull 507. Just ask him to please pull 507 so that it doesn't even make it to a hearing. He doesn't want to do that right now. Be nice. He's got good motives. I believe that. And so don't tell him things like you're going to hell or anything like that. I've got to put that in here because they tell me that's what some people tell them. And don't tell him that he wants to kill babies. Don't think he wants to kill babies. But this is a bad law. And as an abolitionist, this is the kind of stuff I want to stop, because what it does is every time you weave a needle in your bill and you say that the court has legitimate authority and we've got to work around that authority, you're legitimizing their authority. You cannot appease a tyrant and oppose him at the same time. The court is a tyrant. The court has said that you can kill children. The legislature's job is to oppose the tyrant. That's their job. Not appease the tyrant. HB 507 appeases the tyrant and is therefore unacceptable. And just tell Brian Zollinger really politely, please, and do it today or tomorrow. And you can do it by email. And they're down below in the links, you'll see the legislators, but it's usually their first initial last name at house.idaho.gov. Be nice. b.zollinger@house.idaho.gov, c.zitto@house.idaho.gov. Send it to s.harris@house.idaho.gov and all the other members of the State Affairs Committee at the House, and tell them that HB 507 is unacceptable because it authorizes the use of public funds, taxpayer money, sales taxes, and property taxes to give the death penalty to children conceived because their daddy is a rapist. Okay? Now, what does that say?
Capital C, Zitto, capital B,
oh, yeah, it doesn't.
not dot.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I said c.zitto. It's only c Zitto. Sorry. It's their first letter of their first name and their last name with no dot in between when you're emailing them. We'll put the links down below. And please take action. Show them that you care. Show them that you're polite, and just explain to them why you don't accept HB 507. And thank you very much. And I'll put up a video tomorrow about my talk with the leading pro-life lobbyist in Boise in person that I had yesterday for 2.5 hours. Okay, thanks.